Welcome to Business and Beyond, the podcast where business leaders and big ideas meet real-world challenges. I'm Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the BBB serving Western Virginia. Each episode, we will bring you candid conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories to help you lead with purpose, build trust, and grow your business with confidence. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Wheeler, President and CEO of the BBB serving Western Virginia. On this week's episode, we're tackling what it means to build and sustain a family business while maintaining the legacy that keeps it going strong. Today, I'm joined by Sammy Oakey III of Oakey's Funeral Service, who has been serving the Roanoke Valley for more than 100 years. Hello, Sam. Thank you
Julie.
for joining us. I am fascinated as what I do here is I deal with a lot of small businesses, and I always look at the ones that have longevity. And so we're going to find out from you what all the secrets are. So tell us a little bit about Oakey's, how it came about, and how long it's been around.
Yeah, we were actually founded in 1866 by my great-great-grandfather, John Oakey. And he was in the Civil War, and after it was over with, he needed something to do. And from everything I've read, he was very good at working with his hands, specifically wood carving. He made tables, chairs, bassinets, and we still have a few of the pieces he did in the funeral home today.
Wow.
He eventually became a wood carver and started making caskets. At that time, coffins. And at that time, people who took care of making the caskets also took care of the dead. So that evolved into kind of becoming a funeral director at that time. And he apparently was very good at what he did. And that's when Oakey's wasn't really incorporated until about 1920. But we started in 1866.
Well, so was there such a thing as a funeral director at that point? Or was it just that you got with somebody who would carve caskets or back in the day?
Yeah, I think they probably called them undertakers back then.
Yes, they sure. Yes, you're exactly right.
The place that we came from before where we are now, the location we had was on Campbell Avenue. It's still there today, and if you look up at the very top, it says funeral directors. So the funeral director term was around at least back that we moved out of there in 1938. So at least back in the 20s, we were called funeral directors. But it's gone from undertakers to morticians to funeral directors to today funeral service professionals is what we go by. But it's a lot of different terms.
Yes, and it obviously the job has evolved as well, and the services and everything. So. What does it feel like to be the leader of this historic business, this family-owned, long-term business?
There's a lot of pride in it, and but you know what? It's a team effort, and I'm surrounded by wonderful people that do what they do in the highest possible caliber. So that makes my job much more pleasant and much easier. I'm also proud of the Oakeys that came before me, my dad, my granddad, and those that came before them, because they're really the ones that had to endure a lot of hardships and a lot of challenges.
Sure.
And they're the ones that have kind of given me, I guess, the funeral home. And it's up to me to find the next generation eventually one day to pass it on to. But I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, you think about that. 2 world wars, Great Depression.
Yep.
I mean, the recovery from the Civil War even.
I'd hear my grandfather talk about the... some type of plague. Forgot what, like maybe back in...
there was a really bad flu that killed a lot of people.
It might have been that. It was in 1919, 1920.
Yes,
It was almost exactly 100 years before COVID. And I remember when COVID hit and we had so many challenges and so many difficulties that I wished I had remembered what my grandfather said about that flu epidemic from 1919, 1920.
Well, yeah, because we do need to learn from the past.
We do. But when they're trying to teach us, sometimes
we're not.
I'm sure I was young and I rolled my eyeballs like, oh boy, not that story about the flu again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, my husband's dad, Eddie, is still alive at 92, and he loves telling stories, and I really have to focus and listen, because once he's gone, a lot of those stories are gone. Now, I think Mitch has them all memorized, so we're probably good for the next generation. But, it is kind of one of those things that sometimes we don't realize the legacy that's being passed on.
Absolutely.
Through those stories. Well, so how have you seen your mission evolve? As through your time there, but also through what you've read or seen that your family did over the years?
Yeah, we've really expanded over the years. We just used to have one location before 1967. And then we began putting chapels up. So now that we have a number of chapels, a pet funeral home, a discount cremation center.
Wow.
We've got a lot going on. And that's the way that funeral service has gone, that you really need to expand your horizon. And you can't count on just doing things the way you always have, because especially with the advent of cremation, we've seen a huge change in what the consumer wants. And we still need to be able to offer people caskets and traditional funerals, but for that family that comes in and says, I want a cremation, no frills, we need to be able to help them too. Yeah.
I want to talk about that as we get a little bit further down the line. So, you've talked a little bit about what you've learned from your family and maybe what we didn't listen to that we should have. So, but has that guided you as you've moved forward and figured it out? I mean, it sounds like you've also been keeping up with what's going on in the market and people's needs and the advent of suburbs and easy transportation and people wanting convenience. I mean, think about that length of time and what's changed. It's crazy.
Technology, and I am not a big lover of technology, but I understand the importance of keeping up with it. But, I mean, when I first started working at Oakey's in 1976, we didn't have a fax machine. There was no internet. There was, we still wrote obituaries up or typed them up on a manual typewriter.
Right.
And now, just the scope of what we do and, being able to send things off to the chapels and to get them back. And there's a lot of good, but also I think there's a lot of bad in technology too. I still like doing a lot of things the old-fashioned way and making sure it gets done right.
Well, and a lot of your stuff is such a personal touch, and it's super important.
It is. And some funeral homes have become almost working with families exclusively online. And I still value meeting with people and sitting across the table with them and chatting about what they want. And I just find that a little bit more warm than trying to send something by way of a text or an email about, what songs do you want at the funeral? It just doesn't have the same warmth, and you can't have the same exchange, I don't think, as you can in person.
Well, and so much gets lost. The tone, I have forever, since email started, have tried to help people understand words matter, and what you convey in what you type off as a quick email can really hurt somebody, because if your tone's not right and you aren't deliberate in what you say, you're in a hurry. They don't know that. They see it as abrupt. They see you as not caring. And I can only imagine in your business how that could just be perceived and taken for somebody who's in a very emotional, vulnerable state.
Yes, absolutely. We deal with folks that a lot of times they've been up all night. They've been up for days. They've been to the hospital or the nursing home.
Right.
There might be some negative interactions they're having with family members or doctors or, and a lot of times when we get with them, as you say, they're in a very fragile state. And all it would take would be maybe the wrong tone to take in an email or a text.
Right.
So I think that you can exhibit warmth a lot more in person than you can technology-wise.
Absolutely. Well, so, multi-generational business, a lot of family involved. Obviously, you're the on-the-site person. I've been doing it for 50 years. What are some of the unique challenges you see as you deal with the family and the multi-generations and the expectations?
We have an expanding number of stockholders. Oakey's is a corporation.
Right.
And, of course, when it was founded back in the 20s as a corporation, there was just, maybe 3 stockholders.
Right.
But over time, those 3 have had a lot of kids and grandkids, and now we find ourselves with a lot more family members, and they're all family members, which is great. So we have a lot of interest. We have a meeting once a year of the stockholders. It's become a lot of it has been online Zooming now.
Yeah.
But We've got a board of directors and an executive committee that is completely made up of family, and we get so much from these family members because a lot of them are in the legal world or the banking or the railroad, and they can bring their talents to the table and maybe suggest some avenues that we need to be going down, or be honest with me and just say, hey, I think we need to do it that way. So it really does work out well to have this many people, a lot of people involved in our family business. But they're very good. They're very supportive to me, and I couldn't ask for a better group of owners to work with.
That's great to hear, and that they're actually bringing their talents to help the company become stronger.
Absolutely. They still want a dividend check,
of course they do. I get that. I get it.
But they deserve it, too, because their forefathers are the ones that started Oakey's.
Yeah. Well, how do you maintain that legacy but also modernize and go through some of the changes that we've talked about?
That's tough because, as I say, I'm still a traditionalist probably. And our younger directors are much better about doing things online and getting the things that can be done online. They're good about that. I still like to write things out in pen and, as I say, meet with families in person. So it's, I think there's a lot of the older directors like me that are traditionalist. The younger ones are modern, and it's a good meshing between the two of us because I know that if we've got an intern named Julia, she's fantastic, and I meet with her sometimes. We meet families together, and I am the one that will maybe carry on the conversation if I know the family, and she's doing all the stuff that I can't do.
And filling out paperwork and all that.
Exactly. So I think that it can, right now it's a good combination. It works well together.
Right.
But I know one day, that it's going to be a lot more technology than what I can handle, and that's when I'll really have to step back.
Well, that's why you have somebody beside you who can handle that, because I know you get calls, or the funeral home or the company gets calls every day. I want Sam Oakey. That's who I want to talk to. And
they do.
And that speaks so much to you because you probably helped their parents, or there's such a long line of relationships and of helping, and they know they know what they're going to get, and
I hope so.
Important.
It was when I first started working at Oakey's that I would get, I would have my peers. It would be their grandparents that were dying.
Yeah.
And then, it was their parents that were dying, and now it's my peers who are dying. So it's very difficult, when somebody you've gone to church with or gone to high school with, and they pass away. But I feel like that maybe I can work better with the family than somebody that has no knowledge at all. And sometimes it's just me stopping in to say hi to the family during the visitation or when they're making arrangements.
Right.
And I think that means something to families that either know me or know that I was familiar with their loved one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that brings a lot of comfort.
Thank you.
Well, so what advice can you give to other family-owned, multi-generational businesses? Obviously, you've cracked the code. You've continued the success, continued the growth. What's your secret?
Don't force the next generation to go into it because my dad never pushed me into going into funeral service. He wanted me to do whatever I wanted to do.
Nice.
And that was really good. And I remember one night, I was doing very poorly in junior high school, and late at night, he put me in the car, took me to the top of Mill Mountain, and we looked out over the city, and he said, "See all those lights out there?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad." He said, you say you want to be a funeral worker. All those lights represent people that are depending on us. You've got to get your act together if you think that you're going to go into the family business like you want to. He didn't force me. This was my idea. I was a paper boy, I think, at the time. But that really made me think, I do need to get my act together. I mean, I was not a horrible kid, but at the same time, I was making bad grades, and I probably, could be a much better kid than I was. So he didn't force me to go into funeral service. I did it on my own, and I did it because I needed money for when I started driving. I needed gas money, date money, and then I thought, you know what? This is a pretty a pretty rewarding job.
Sure.
This is a pretty good place to work. I might want to do this. So that's how it
Nice.
came. And my son worked at Oakey's for a number of years, but he decided, it wasn't for him. And I think he was worried about hurting my feelings by leaving. I said,
Sure.
Sam, I want you to do what you want to do. Certainly the worst thing in the world to do would be have to come to work at someplace you don't want to come to work
through
to
that.
every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I would say generationally, don't force your kids into going into
And
it.
don't
Let
assume.
them choose it.
Mhm.
Yes.
And don't assume that they're going to.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. What advice would you give to consumers to what should they be doing or thinking about from a pre-planning standpoint? How early should they think about, what their expectations are? Because I know that a lot of times so much pressure is put on a family member, a loved one, if someone passes and hasn't made any plans or made their wishes known.
Yeah, and that's both emotionally and
Yes.
financially as well.
Yes.
It's never too early to start thinking about pre-planning. Certainly, if you're in your 40s, we see so many younger people dying these days
Yes.
from different reasons. So I think it's a great idea to begin thinking about what you want and talking to your spouse or your family
Right.
about what you want. And then getting together with a funeral home and getting it down on a file. That is so important, getting it on a file. And then if you want to prepay for it, there are financial advantages to doing that. We can freeze the cost at today's prices if you prepay for it.
Wow.
And some families say, you know what, I think I'll let my insurance pay for that.
Sure.
You know what, that's okay too. The most important thing is coming in and working with the director and telling us everything. We can get all the information that needs to be on the death certificate. We can get obituary information. We can
Right.
find out what kind of flowers you want. Do you want to be buried with your wedding ring on or not?
Yeah.
Do you want cremation or not cremation? What do you want done with your ashes?
Yeah.
There are just a myriad of questions. And that's what gets me about cremation. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to be cremated. I don't need to worry about that. There are definitely questions and options that need to be addressed for cremation as well as for traditional earth burial.
Oh, absolutely.
So, pre-need,
Things to think.
we have at least probably 5 people every day making pre-arrangements. We've got 2 people whose job it is specifically to meet with pre-need families. And advice to families that are thinking about doing it. You've got a wonderful, the internet it can be a great tool at looking at other funeral homes, finding out how they serve folks, prices even.
Sure.
So I think if you're a good consumer, you don't want to go with just price, but you want to go with service, price, heritage, location, that kind of thing. So just take your time. And the good thing about a prearrangement, you can change it, you can erase it. Nothing's written in stone. And a family can even, if a family makes a prearrangement and prepays with us and then moves to Florida, that money and that prearrangement can go to Florida.
Wow.
So it's very, very portable.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's neat. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and that's important because a lot
Sure.
of people do, think they're
Move,
going to be
yeah.
in Roanoke the rest of their life,
Right.
and then something, usually grandkids, being closer to kids and grandkids,
Yeah, true.
will take them to a different area.
Right. Well, so obviously you've expanded over the years. Were those strategic decisions, or did they happen out of necessity, or how did you?
Yeah, just to
Make those
try to
decisions.
be closer to the families that call on us. And it used to be that the nucleus being in downtown Roanoke,
Right.
that was okay. But then people started branching out, and you've got people now, in parts of town that used to be country.
Yeah. Sure.
So we try to, get closer to the people that call on us and make it to where they don't have to drive a long way to come to us
Right.
and make an arrangement or come to a visitation, that type of thing. So that's been important to us. You don't see that many brick and mortar funeral homes going up too much anymore.
Right.
That's because of the advent of cremation, and you're seeing more and more folks, as I say, doing things either online or maybe doing a budget type funeral home.
Right. Well, that kind of goes to a question that I have. COVID obviously changed everything, and I think I've seen a huge change as people have passed away now of what they do. It used to be pretty standard. You had a visitation, and then you had a funeral, whether it was at church or whatever. And it feels like people have gotten away from that. It used to be immediate, and now maybe they're waiting, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and having some sort of celebration of life. And
Exactly.
How have y'all dealt with that? I mean, obviously, it has to have turned your world kind of upside down.
It really has. I mean, I think COVID accelerated what was already coming. Yes.
Sure. Okay.
And it made us realize that, hey, families are maybe less and less wanting a traditional funeral with the casket and the flowers and how great thou art and the what it used to be. And it was kind of a cookie cutter funeral for years and years, generic. It might be very similar between one and the other, but now people want individual services that are tailored to the way that their loved one lived their lives. We're seeing that. I think that the key term is personalization. So we're seeing that more and more. If somebody died and the family has a visitation, if that person was a big lover of, say, the Virginia Tech Hokies, the family brings in a lot of, Tech memorabilia, football, or, pom-poms.
Sure.
If the person was a big lover of golf, we've seen people bring in, golf clubs and hole-in-one trophies and things. And we had one at our North Chapel. The manager, Steve Cunningham, was meeting with the family. The person was a big motorcycle lover, loved motorcycles.
Oh, wow. Did you have the Harley in the middle of it?
Well, he didn't know that was going to happen, but Steve told them, he said, bring something in that will be reflective of that love of the motorcycles.
You're thinking a helmet.
Exactly. That's what he was kind of hoping for. They brought the motorcycle in.
Oh, wow.
And Steve was, of course, worried, about oil leaking out of the carpet or something. But it was wonderful. And so it makes it more, it takes the focus off of the death and puts it on the person's life.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So we love helping families to do something like that.
Right.
That will be meaningful to them.
Yeah.
And that really has accelerated since COVID.
Sure.
As you say, memorial services that are now, as you say, 2 and 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
And almost always on a Saturday. Everybody wants a Saturday service.
Wants Saturday, yes, because they got people coming in from out of town
it
or
makes
whatever.
It tough on us because everybody wants a
does.
Saturday service. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. But we still have plenty of people who are very adamant that they want, a funeral service with a casket and embalming.
Sure.
And they want it in 3 days, and they want it in the Roanoke Times listed.
Yeah.
So we've got to appeal, and we've got to understand a lot of different mindsets, people who want different things.
That's generational, and I think we're all fighting that
Absolutely.
on a lot of things. The obviously the older folks or even the loved ones of the older ones that are passing, they still are steeped in that tradition, more.
We see it all the time when we go into the casket selection room with a younger family who are making arrangements for somebody older who died.
Right.
And wish I had a nickel for every time I've heard one of them say, well, you won't have to do this for me. I'm being cremated.
Yeah.
And I feel like
you need
saying,
to write it down.
Yeah, I feel like saying you've still got to make some decisions,
Yes,
for
exactly.
that.
Yes,
But I don't want to
absolutely.
make things tougher. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are. When I first started working at Oakey's, cremation rate at Oakey's was 3%. Now it's 49%. That's a lot of growth.
Absolutely. That's a total shift in your business model.
And
it is business. I'm sorry.
It is.
I don't mean it cold, but that
Absolutely.
is a total shift you've had to make, paradigm shift.
And that's why we, back in the 90s, we had our own crematory put in.
Right.
We added on to that a few years later. Then we put a really nice cremation tribute center, which is a crematory that if a family wants to take part in the cremation rites, they can be at. That's at our South Chapel.
Wow.
And of course, the pet funeral home, they are like 99% cremation.
I want to talk about that a little bit too as we get a little further down, because I think that's another business shift that's just fascinates me.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we responded to the advent of cremation by, I remember when I first started working at Oakey's, we had like maybe 4 or 5 urns. We had this little curtain that we'd open up
and it was
at the downtown chapel, and it was about 4 urns.
Now you have a room.
Exactly, a whole room full.
Yeah, wow.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah, we just need to be able to give the families the best possible choices for what they want.
Well, so, you have a lot of locations. How do you maintain your culture? I mean, what do you do like group trainings? You get people together to make sure that everybody is staying with the way the company is?
We tried that.
Okay.
But it didn't really work because you keep adding and onboarding new people.
Sure.
And if you don't do refresher courses, the people who are there begin to forget suggestions. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we joined up, and this was my son's idea, with a group called Greystone Consulting. They don't own us, but they have the best of the best funeral homes across the country, and they do intensive training.
Right.
They show you statistics. They show you weak areas. In fact, we had one of the representatives in town last week that talked to every one of our managers and asked them if they had the tools that they needed.
Right.
So that's been one of the best things in the world. It's not cheap, but you know what?
Sure.
You can't put a price on good training
No.
that results in better customer service to the Valley.
Yeah, because that is a big deal. Obviously, it's very emotionally charged time for everybody that you're dealing with. It
is, and you can tell when you go in someplace if there's good training. If I go into a restaurant and if it's good training, I don't know if Alexander's is a BBB firm or not, but I go in there every now and again, and they have great customer service.
Yes.
And I go into Chili's, and they've got veggie burgers, which I'm vegetarian, but they've got the nicest servers, and everything is really just a good vibe in there. So yeah, training is crucial, and if you neglect it, you're going to go down.
And that's any business. Yeah, I would think it's so important, and yours even more so because everybody is at a very, very vulnerable time that you're dealing with.
And if you say the wrong thing, Greystone is teaching us a different way of talking. Like we used to say, go and get the body and bring the body back to Oakey's. Well, you can't say that.
Yes.
It's bring your loved one back into our care.
Right.
So that's just a small example, but there's others out there that have taught us. And I feel better about speaking in Greystonese because it's a nicer way of putting things that we have to talk to the family about.
Sure.
But you don't want to be blatant and offend them by saying something that you don't want to say corpse or body. You want to say Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
So
well, how do you hire for empathy, making sure that you're getting somebody that has the right level of empathy or understanding, patience? How do you screen for that? Cannot be easy.
It's not, and it used to be that we depended a lot on people that came into the funeral home and said, "Hey, want to work at Oakey's." We don't get that as much these days, so we have to make a concerted effort to get out into the Valley, go to job fairs. And again, I don't know technology, but I know we do something. Is it Indeed or something?
Okay.
So we have to put a lot of things out, and for every 100 responses you get, you may be able to get one hire out of that because some people don't even show up for the job interview.
Amen.
And then you after the job interview, if it's a good interview, then they can't pass their background check or their drug test, and it's very time intensive, and it's not as easy as it used to be, and you have to weed out the people who maybe want to work in a funeral home for some type of a morbid curiosity or cheap thrill or something like that. You don't want the wrong kind of people. They've got to be people, and they got to be the folks that can respect the living and the dead.
Right.
So we've really had to get out both technology-wise and community-wise and try to find the folks that we think would be a good fit for us.
Right. Well, let's talk about the pet business. I am a huge pet lover. My babies are my
Give me 5
babies.
on that, yes.
And I know you are, and you have been forever. I remember way back.
And the pet funeral home has really been an unbelievable asset to our organization and to the Valley.
Right.
We didn't know when we started that in 2009 if it would do okay.
Sure.
Will people go for that? Because when you and I were young, you buried your dog in the backyard.
Yes.
That was how you did it.
There, yep.
But now people move so much, and I still regret in the old Wheeler house that we lived in for 13 years that I buried Sweetheart in the backyard, and then we moved in the 2000s, and you can't do anything about that.
Yep.
So it's almost all cremation. We actually, about a year ago, about 6 months ago, we had to add a $1.2 million addition to that particular facility.
Wow.
We didn't have enough cremation room.
Sure.
And we like to pride ourselves on getting the cremated remains back to the family of the pet parent within a day or two. Mm-hmm. And we were lagging. We had gotten to 4, 5, 6 days.
Wow.
And we can't have that. So we bit the bullet and got 5 new what we call retort chambers, because we strongly believe you cremate each one separately, not with any others. So we do it the right way. It costs more. It's more time intensive. But if you do things the right way, it's going to pay off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, the way you have marketed that is they're family members, and that resonates with so many people because it used to be such a challenge when you were losing your loved one, your pet, what do I do with this? My mother was the biggest animal lover, and there was a place up here somewhere up in the southeast maybe that would do cremations, and I would drive her pets after they had passed from Lynchburg here to make sure it was done
the right
as one,
way.
and was done the right way. And that was such a, you had to dig hard to find a way to do it at that point in time. And so you have just provided something that all us pet lovers need.
Thank you. I'm really proud of, and the team that works out there. Margene is the manager, and she's a pet lover. They're all pet lovers. Mm-hmm. They all care. You're not going to see, dogs put into garbage bags and put on the back of a pickup truck. Yeah. We're doing it the right way with care and dignity, because they're not like family. They are family.
Right. They are family. They are. And you can't discount that at all. So, well, obviously you've had to innovate and move on and move forward, and it sounds like you have pivoted and shifted and everything as you need to be. But one thing that has remained the same, you're a charter member. You were with this BBB when we started in 1940. And obviously you have stuck with us. We've stuck with you. What do you see as the biggest advantage to that?
Well, when you tell people you're a BBB member, first of all, it shows you got nothing to hide. You're proud of having a high code of ethics, and you're letting them know, hey, if something's wrong, you can go to the BBB. We're a member. Right. So we show our sign with pride. I think my dad was a board member. Mm-hmm. I was a board member. Yep. I think Sam was a board member. So yeah, it's something that will never go out of date. And I remember in the newsletter, you all would put new members in there, and occasionally people who didn't respond to complaints, companies that didn't. And I thought, boy, I would never want my company to be in this lineup here. I'd
track you down. I wouldn't let that be.
But no, I truly value our association with you all. You all do a great job, and we're just, fortunate to have you all in the Valley.
Well, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate your support, and we make the Valley more trustworthy. This is all about being able to trust and do the right thing, and having businesses like you is obviously keeps us going, allows us to do our work, and hopefully make it a better place for all of us to live.
Fantastic. So, you can't ask for more than that. That's a great goal.
Well, so what do you see happening in the next decade? Obviously, the last 10 years have been crazy. What's coming next?
We just opened up within the last, 11 months, a discount cremation center on Peters Creek Road, and that is for families that want the absolute most inexpensive cremation with no services, nothing. Sure. And we've seen that really take off. So we're proud of that, and we think that will continue. I don't really want, we've had opportunities to go outside of the valley and purchase funeral homes. I don't feel comfortable going too far away because you wouldn't be able to keep your hand on it.
Personal, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind going, say, 45 minutes in any direction. And,
right.
We're in talks with people all the time about
Sure.
whether they might want to sell their funeral home when they retire.
Right.
So that's a possibility, but I don't think you'll ever see an Oakey's, in Richmond or
Right.
Charleston, South Carolina.
Right.
I just would hate to surrender the hands-on control
quality.
we've got
Yes,
of it. Right.
the quality control, absolutely. Well, so what are the most important leadership lessons you've learned in your time as president? Obviously, it's been quite a while.
My dad always taught me that if somebody does something wrong, you don't want to go to them right then because you're
Anger.
mad, they're mad.
Yes.
You wait, maybe until the next day. So I've tried to carry that on, and I've actually tried to instill that in our managers because I'm a gentle, non-confrontational person. I can't stand conflict, but sometimes you have to, talk to somebody in a stern way. So it's best if you wait until you're not angry and talk
Right.
to them that way. So that's probably one of the bigger things I've ever had. My granddad used to tell me that he said, one day you're going to be on the other side of this desk, meaning the arrangement conference. He said, you're going to be making the arrangements for somebody that you love, Sammy. And he said, you
Right.
need to think about that every time you meet with them. So I have tried to remember that too. And we're so, we've had such a great heritage of not necessarily Oakey people, but employees who have worked with us for 50 years, 55 years. And
Wow.
I try to remember the lessons that they've taught me and tell, and I know I sound like an old fogey when I'm telling these young people, well, let me tell you about, Ray Carnes, who worked in 1978,
Right.
what he taught me about embalming. So I know that they probably are, rolling their eyeballs at me like I rolled my eyeballs at my grandfather.
It's a passing of the torch, that's all.
Exactly. I'm hoping some of these items stick. Because I was
absolutely.
taught a lot of things, and I remember some of them, and I feel like the ones I remember are worth passing on.
Absolutely, and they do. I mean, they may roll their eyes, but it gets in there somewhere, and when it'll come back out when they need it.
I hope so.
We have to have faith that that's what's going to happen. One final question: if you look back, what are you most proud of your company, the growth, and your contribution to the community, either during your time or before your time?
I would say the fact that when my dad passed away, which was rather suddenly in 1998 from cancer, and I think that there was talk, well, I was too young. I was only 38 years old,
Right.
and is Oakey's going to be sold, and what's going to happen, and the fact that the board gave me the chance to step in
Sure.
and become the president and CEO of Oakey's. And that's been, a quarter century ago. I just feel like, and I'm not bragging because, again, it was a team effort.
Sure.
But I'm very proud of the fact that we have had that seamless transition between how great my dad did and also how well Oakey's is doing now. And
Right.
we didn't really lose a step in that particular time frame. And I just feel good about that.
Yeah, and that's wonderful because those transitions can be very catastrophic, particularly if it's not planned. If it's someone sudden. So that's all for this episode of Business and Beyond. Thank you for listening. And Sam got great information. What a wonderful conversation we've had. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to keep this conversation going, so please make sure to connect with us on social media and share your ideas for future topics or guests. And don't forget to visit us online at bbb.org. And until next time, keep building with integrity, leading with trust, and taking your business beyond expectations. The BBB way.